Good day to y'all. It is Philosophy Roulette, number 92, where we get philosophy papers and we read and review them live. So it's the first time I'm reading this stuff, first time broadcasting this stuff. I don't know what's gonna happen. That's why it's roulette. Today we got a little bit of it's a little too loud at the moment for me. I don't know if you can hear the music. One of the papers I did a little while back, the author I sent all the authors an email just alerting them to my video review, which is posted on YouTube, and was good enough to get back to me and say nice things, and said, hey, if you want to do any other of my papers, I've got some other short ones. So I actually have a recommendation from the suggestion from one of the authors. The author is Boomer Trujillo, I think out of Louisville. And so we're going to be doing Glenn Boomer Trujillo's Friendship for the Flawed, a Cynical and Pessimistic Theory of Friendship, which is fun because we did another theory on another paper on friendship not that long ago. And if you are in the live chat, you can type !paper and get a link to this page, just for the paper page. Although I don't think it's up yet. It is a very new paper, and I don't think he posted it, so I'll remind him when I send him another email saying that the review's up. You know, I should have sent him an email saying that I was going to review the thing today, too. I did not think of that. Anywho. So, I'll make sure this paper gets somewhat available if anybody wants to get it. At least I'll have him post on at least his personal website. But, yeah, we did that other paper on friendship being about norm manipulation. So when you have friends, you're manipulating social or societal or just interrelationship norms, and that's really what friendship comes down to, is some sort of interactive norm manipulation. So that's cool. Let's see what Glenn, or Boomer I should say, because Boomer is apparently how he goes. So Boomer, and I think it's he, I just assumed, not gonna pursue that much more. So let's see what Boomer has to say. This is out of Southwest Philosophy Review, and yeah, it just came out, like the edition from this year. So, Friendship for the Flawed, a Cynical and Pessimistic Theory of Friendship. So this is perhaps a little different from the other paper on friendship that I did earlier. Okay, so no, is this the abstract or is this just a really long abstract? No. Yes, the whole paper is one giant abstract. We're not going to read the abstract, we're just going to read it. Cicero writes, "For when fortune smiles on us, friendship adds a luster to that smile. When she frowns, friendship absorbs her part and share of that frown and thus makes it easier to bear. No one denies that friendship makes life better, but maybe that is a problem. Maybe most philosophers addressing friendship are guilty of confirmation bias, seeking only opinions that prove themselves right about the positive value of friendship." Okay, so what's so crappy about friendship? Boomer, let's find out. However, it is a big philosophical leap from recognizing friendship's frequent benefits to deeming it necessary for flourishing or a good apart from moral evaluation. Yet many authors do just that. They affirm that friendship is a necessary good of life, for a necessary good life, or they argue that friendships have their own type of goodness that can exist even in morally compromising situations. These two evaluations puzzle me because they seem selective in their focus. So Boomer here is saying that people have been cherry-picking their arguments and data when it comes to friendship, because everyone's assuming that it's so good. So I want to argue against these prevalent trends in the friendship literature by taking an intermediary position. It involves defending two things. First, while friendship often helps some flourish, it should not be thought necessary for flourishing for all people, contra Aristotle. Second, the value of friendship cannot be separated from its moral risks, especially to our own characters, contra Cocking and Kent. Okay. These ideas come from unlikely sources of wisdom on friendship, Cynics and the Pessimists. Taken together, Diogenes of Sinope, Crates of Thebes, and Arthur Schopenhauer present a view of friendship that is honest to human flaws. I put them in dialogue here because their philosophical styles are similar, and almost no other philosophers warn against friendship like they do. I will argue that their views show that 1. Philosophers are mistaken if they consider friendship necessary for flourishing for all, and 2. Friendship always imposes risk to your character and sometimes entails burdensome social obligations. I will conclude by arguing that cynics and pessimists show us how to be good friends. To do this, I will A. set up the two puzzles about friendship that I mentioned here, and B. argue that the combined cynic and pessimist view can solve them. My point is not that friendship is bad or that we should be misanthropes. The point is that we should feel ambivalent. Most good things in life are not just good. They are usually complicated. Friendship is one such good, and that is why I think we should listen to these neglected voices. Okay, so you're going to go with the cynics and the pessimists. I'm cynical, usually. I'm not, I don't know if I count as pessimist, but I tend to break cynical. So we'll see if I agree with any of this. Challenge 1. You need friends to live well. Aristotle set the agenda for philosophizing about friendship, yet tragedy looms in his theory. On the one hand, humans are naturally political beings living together with others. We have friends and seek associations. Aristotle explains why. The presence of friends then seem desirable in all circumstances. Emphasis added. Friendship helps us. Friends make misfortune bearable, and without them, the most blessed pursuits become arduous. For Aristotle, friendship is not merely ornamental, it is necessary for flourishing. Without friendship, life is incomplete. On the other hand, Aristotle realizes the difficulty of making friends, claiming that people cannot make excellent friends with many others. Having a few friends is best we should hope for. Becoming a good person is difficult, so finding another good person to venture through life is twice as hard. It also should be known that I think Aristotle historically was a jerk. No one really liked him. So maybe he's not, this is sort of character assassination, but maybe he didn't know what he was talking about in this case. I mean, he spent all his time, I think he spent a lot of time cozying up to dictators just so that he could get funding. I mean, it's not an uncommon thing for philosophers to do now or back then, but I don't think he was liked by most people, so maybe he wouldn't actually know what, normal friendship would even be. For all I know, he was just more concerned in patronage. I don't know. It's a long time ago. Becoming a good person is difficult, so finding another good person to venture through life with is twice as hard. I'm not sure about this sentence right here. I mean, just finding another person that gets along with you. But I don't know if that actually has anything to do with good. There's challenge not only on our singular journeys towards virtue and flourishing, but there is added challenge in finding worthy others to be friend, especially virtuous people who you like and make time for you. And if we cannot do this, we are not fully flourishing. Friendship and flourishing therefore depend on luck by relying on other people, an unsurprising conclusion for anyone familiar with Aristotle. Flourishing for him is just as difficult and is subject to misfortune. But human animals simply need friendships to live well, no matter their scarcity or difficulty to cultivate. The Cynics challenged Aristotle's view. The reason Cynics can deny the necessity of friendship is that the goal of philosophical training is to make people self-sufficient in living a simple and natural life. This, in turn, renders the flourishing person completely invulnerable to the vicissitudes of life. Their training program focused on self-mastery. Cynics disciplined their bodies through exercise. They ignored all academic subjects except ethics. They cultivated themselves through simple living, eating only enough to survive, wearing only a single cloak, and sleeping wherever they could. Diogenes of Sinope's diet of onions and residency inside a barrel were not gimmicks, they were exercises of his philosophical commitment to a natural, simple life. This is why the Cynics lashed out at wealth and reputation, and why they confronted anyone who thought or taught otherwise. Their entire lives were efforts to live the best life possible, and to show others that they too could flourish. If only they abandoned the complications and anxieties of decadence. Just like any external good, for example, health, wealth, or reputation, friendship could never be a necessary good for flourishing for the Cynics. Friends, like any good thing in life, are just part of the journey to become self-sufficient, and friends do not always contribute to that. Diogenes was plain. Happiness is this and nothing else, to be of truly good heart and never distressed wherever one is and whatever the moment may bring. There is no mention of wealth, reputation, or others. And friends are important only insofar as they help in this pursuit. Diogenes emphasized, to come off well in life, one needs either good friends or ardent enemies, for friends instruct you and enemies expose your faults. Excuse me. On the journey towards self-sufficiency and simplicity, enemies do just as well as friends because they expose your shortcomings. The only important thing is that you learn to improve yourself, that you become self-sufficient and live simply. I mean, whatever you think of this thing, the nicest compliment I ever heard one philosopher say to another philosopher said, with an enemy like this, who needs friends? Because, I mean, they were obviously friends. They were getting along. They were they were going back and forth, but one was opposing the other. I think it was actually Zizek saying that of, what's that guy's name? Object-oriented philosophy dude. Whatever. So the object-oriented philosopher guy, Dr. Zamalek is his website. I remember that, at least. He was criticizing Zizek for something, and Zizek really liked the criticisms. Like, this is good. He's like, with enemies like this, who needs friends? He's like, that's so nice. It's like this guy understands everything I'm saying and is able to criticize me and make this stuff better. So I just thought that was a nice comment on their part. So there is something to this statement right here. I like this statement. So that's good. Okay, so the Cynics rebelled against Aristotle's concept of flourishing. They agreed that flourishing involves a rigorous training of the self, but they disagreed that flourishing relies on friendship or community. Whatever price they pay in a simple life, they receive in a mode of flourishing that can be accompanied by anyone, anywhere, in any circumstances. On the Cynic account, a friendless person could still flourish. I could see them advising a downtrodden, friendless Aristotelian by saying, you are dissatisfied with life and fortune precisely because you have the wrong view of flourishing. Cynics would say that friends are indeed hard to find and make, but rather than bemoan this, they would offer it as advice for why friendship should not be included as a necessary component of flourishing. You should not be afraid of lacking friends. After all, some are satisfied with solitude and independence. Instead, the Cynics would say that you should fear living a decadent life that makes you dependent on other people, or that threatens your ability to comport yourself well toward the simple joys in life. Friends might not contribute to this. In fact, they might hinder it, so they cannot be necessary. Okay. I guess so. There's a good question, like, whose ideal do you really like here, the Cynics or Aristotle's? I don't think, the Cynics might say it might not work for everyone, so it's not necessary, but if you're going by averages, you're going to have to just fall down on the Aristotelian side, because most people would still say that even if it's not necessary, you need friends for the most part in this world. And the Cynics really haven't come off well, at least historically. So, like, I mean, maybe they're right in the end, but, like, they're not, there's not a ton of them. So it would seem like, yeah, maybe you can do it and it's good enough for a certain class of people. So that's fine. But, it's not going to work for most people, so. And then there's a question, again, if the point is, if it's just not necessary, then they might have a point that, well, what exactly they mean, the Aristotelian means by necessary. But, yeah, there might be some sort of a semantic problem, like whose version of the world is right. What are they actually talking about? But, so it's a question on what actually is most important, which I guess is what this all comes down to. Alright, challenge 2. Good friends help you move house. Great friends help you move a body. Yeah, the old joke. Who do you call when you need to move a body at 3 a.m.? Dean Cocking and Jeanette Kennett say that you would be a good friend to someone by helping them move a body, like the plot of Death in Brunswick, where Dean helps his friend Carl hide the body of a person he kills. For them, friendship only has a contingent connection to morality. Even friendships that compromise your moral standing might properly be called true and good. Friendships are relationships that have mutual affection, commitments to each other's interests, and well-being, desires for shared experiences, a disposition to be directed by the other person's interests and activities, and mutual conceptions and interpretations of the self. None of this need be connected to morality. To them, friends helping each other hide a body might be morally compromising, but nonetheless indicative of a true and good friendship. They therefore expunge questions of the moral value of friendship from questions about the quality of its constitution. What makes Cocking and Kennett's thesis so controversial is that friendship literature leans Aristotelian. Aristotelians claim that true friendships are those where people are interested in each other's ethical characters and flourishing. And any friendship that jeopardizes either is by definition not the best form of friendship, and so cannot be assessed as a true or good one. As a true or good. Okay, not one, just the general true or the general good. Okay, I see the cynics as an intermediary between these two camps. With Aristotle, they agree that friendship should be evaluated primarily in ethical terms. Yeah, but what do they mean by ethical on the cynical terms? I don't quite know. But they also share the caution and negative focus of Cocking and Kennett in considering morally compromising situations. Rather than focus on the benefits of friendship, the cynics often warn against aligning yourself with people of questionable character. Diogenes said how absurd it is that when we are intending to set off on a voyage, we care to select the best traveling companions, and yet when we have resolved to live well, we choose whomever chance sets in our path as our companions in life. Rather than separating friendship from ethical evaluations, the cynics warn that friendships can have negative impacts. They notice that people often settle for befriending those they meet by chance rather than actively seeking out others with similar moral commitments. This is curious to them because people scrutinize less serious affairs, such as traveling, more than they scrutinize their own choices of friends who can influence every facet of life. The cynics did not take friendship lightly. Not only does it affect your own journey toward self-sufficiency, but it also comes with obligations. They argue that friends must stick up for each other, and if they do not, they are bad as anyone maligning the friend. Schopenhauer adds to this insight, arguing that friends often try to loan money from you. The more intimate a person is, the more likely he is to transgress the bounds of propriety, to take advantage of you, insult you, or generally be rude. Yeah, it seems like Schopenhauer is just a jerk or something. Schopenhauer also observes that people, or maybe Schopenhauer didn't have any good friends, they were just all taking advantage of him. That no one really thinks of that as a friend. But yeah, if you are have a bunch of friends with you didn't really put a lot of effort into, then maybe they will just end up not putting effort into you and just taking advantage of you. So Schopenhauer also observes that people often live their entire lives, including friendships, with ulterior motives or personal interests that they keep secret. Yeah, you can get betrayed for various reasons. Friends do not actually share the innermost aspects of themselves, which is sometimes the driver behind their lives. He even jokes that friends talk badly about each other behind each other's backs, and if that you ever heard what your friend said about you, you would stop talking to them. Maybe, maybe not. These comments highlight that befriending anyone presents moral risk and burden. Well, that's sure. It's a little, Schopenhauer's a little extreme in this, I think. But that's Schopenhauer, I guess. Associating yourself with someone, you associate yourself with who they are, what they do, and what they value. For cynics, this is dangerous because it can compromise your self-sufficiency. And for pessimists, it is a risk that might not be worth the labor because friends keep significant secrets from each other and are not so friendly when they leave the room. The cynics and pessimists agree with Aristotle that friends impact the ethical quality of your life, but not always or even usually in a positive way. Rather, they can distract you from self-sufficiency and create obligations. Friendships take work. And given that life is difficult, they might be unworth the effort. Cynics and pessimists take this ethical risk seriously, and insofar as friendships jeopardize your character or self-sufficiency, you are better off without them. Not only then are there practical worries, but about how difficult it is to make friends, as the first challenge suggests, but there are also ethical worries about the risks entailed. For cynics and pessimists, it is often the case that having no friends is better than having bad or even mediocre ones. Enemies, after all, will do most of the important tasks that a friend might, and there's no shortage of them. I don't know if you have to go poke a bear to get the bear angry with you, so you're still doing work for enemies. I'm not sure how many enemies the author has. I don't think I have too many enemies at the moment. Maybe I just have to get out more. I have some friends, but I don't know. I actually don't think I have that many enemies at this point. Maybe that'd be a goal. I should go make some enemies. Be useful. Cynics and pessimists make the best friends. Well, that's nice. I have argued two things. Friends are not necessary for flourishing for all people, and friends present moral risks. Yeah, but none of what I have argued on behalf of the cynics or pessimists implies that they are committed to being callous. Instead, the opposite is the case. Two stories about Crates and of Thebes bearing repeating, as they show cynics and pessimists often make fantastic friends. First, Crates heard that Metrocles of Maronia was going to kill himself. Oh, so sad. Metrocles was an Aristotelian, holding that reputation matters for living a good life, and he had ruined his by farting while giving a lecture. Wow. I mean, this is one of the problems with reputation. People don't... there's a nice book on reputation by Gloria Orgi. I don't know how to say her name, but analyzing reputation. Why are we so crazy about our reputations? It's a little bit interesting. I think her thesis came down to be is to be comparable, and so it was an epistemic thesis. So to be is to be comparable. So since our reputation is what gets compared, it goes to the heart of what it means for us to be. But why is it like this sort of thing, that, like a reason to kill yourself? You farted while giving a lecture, so you're going to kill yourself? Yikes. Ashamed, Metrocles shut himself in to starve himself to death. And a terrible death at that. Okay, you're not going to just like try to go for the quick death, you're going to starve yourself over days. Crates went to Metrocles and tried to convince him that he did nothing wrong, as it was natural to fart. Whenever his words failed to convince Metrocles, Crates farted in front of him, thus showing that it was not shameful to fart while discussing philosophy. Metrocles recovered from his melancholy and consequently became a cynic. Second, Hipparchia of Maronia, Metrocles' sister, fell in love with Crates. Oh, that's so nice. They're all friends. She ignored all others and she threatened to kill herself if her family forbade her from marrying him. Maybe this family's just suicidal. I don't know. The family spoke with Crates, requesting that he change her mind. Crates agreed, went to Hipparchia, and argued that she should not marry him. She remained unconvinced, however. So he stripped naked and said, "Here's your bridegroom, here are all his possessions. Make your choice accordingly, for if you will be no fit companion for me if you do not share the same way of life." He expected his display of poverty and aged nakedness to stop her pursuit of him. Instead, she matched his mode of dress and committed her life to cynicism. Okay, so I guess that was nice of... Well, why is this a question? Alright, so let's find out what the author has to say about why this is important. What can we draw from these stories? It would be incorrect to say that the cynics did not make friends. Crates married and had friends, and they mutually supported each other in an effort to live the cynic philosophy. But what separated his friendships from others, and probably from many of ours, is that he emphasized that the deepest, most intimate connections we have with people ought to be natural, unashamedly displaying human vulgarity and imperfection. Flattery or even rhetorical dressing of human vulnerabilities never serves friendship. Yes, this is what I think I was trying to say about the Aristotle stuff above. Aristotle had to worry about flattery and dressing up and being the way he was perceived was important to Aristotle, because he had to make money. He didn't have to make money, he wanted to do what he wanted to do, and that's why people got annoyed with him, because he didn't really care about what other people thought. Yeah, Aristotle is a character. Rather, being comfortable about natural functions and being open about human flaw. Never serves friendship. Rather, being comfortable about natural functions and being open about human flaws do serve friendship. Schopenhauer offered similar advice for living with other people. Whenever you meet people, look at them and accept them for who they are, peculiar, immoral, or dim as they may be. Do not scorn them or hope that they will change, unjustly making their lives harder. Instead, consider who they actually are and interact with them accordingly. Schopenhauer did not want to interact with many people, but he understood it took many types to live in this world, and they deserve to be as they are too. Yeah. Cynics and pessimists warn us about high-minded ideals of flourishing. They refocus us on self-sufficiently and cultivating our own characters. And their remarks on friendship do the same. I'm always worried about this when they talk about cynics. I mean, who the heck knows exactly what self-sufficiently counts as? We do not live... I mean, we can't live alone. We can't. I don't know of anyone that really can do things by themselves in this world, or really ever has. I mean, people go often to live into the woods or like some like remote area by themselves, but I mean, they had to get started somehow, and even then, I mean, you can do it for a while, but it just doesn't seem like human society is meant that everyone be separate. I don't think we could do it. The cynic and the pessimist both say that we should accept people's flaws and natural ways of being rather than ignoring them or hoping them to be something else. So, I mean, this anti-idealist is basically kind of what it's going for. Whenever you look at a person for who they actually are, then you can understand the way they might fit into your life. This does not mean that you must befriend them, but it means that you have a better idea of what friendship with them would be. Most people let their hopes, fears, and desires distort the reality of relationships. We see what we want or fear more often than reality. That's fair. I am not a cynic or a pessimist, author says so, but I think they have central points about friendship right, and have been ignored for too long. Friendship is not always good, and in fact it can present grave risk and generate heavy obligations. To separate the moral evaluation of friendship from the quality of the friendship is a mistake, otherwise it is not worthy of the title true and good friendship. And for such a risky endeavor as friendship should not be necessary for flourishing for all people, cynics and pessimists understand that we crave friendship, but they also understand that deep friendships are not always possible in every circumstance in life. Rather than take this as evidence that friendless people cannot flourish, cynics and pessimists encourage all to work on self-sufficiency and simplicity in living. Again, we don't know what this means. Yeah, so things that worry me is, do I actually know what that sort of stuff mean? Which is more surely to lead to flourishing. They reveal that having no friends is better than having bad ones, and they savor the friendships that they do have when they have them. This Flaw's first approach to relationships, farts and wrinkles all on display, creates a humane basis for friendships. Sometimes we need that cynical or pessimist friend to remind us that our expectations are too high, and that if we leave behind pristine ideals for natural reality, we can be happy. In dire straits, we need friends like cynics and pessimists. They nudge our vision away from our failure to live up to heavenly ideals and retrain our vision on the flawed here, the imperfect self, and the ways that accepting our human simplicity will serve us better than anything else. Okay, that's a fun paper. Like I said, I'm kind of cynical, so yeah, I don't actually know what the self-sufficiency or simplicity is, but I break anti-ideal for some of these reasons that were given here along the cynic lines, that you have to get back. You can't. The idealistic position just is. It disconnects from reality, and at that point, then what's the point? Because if you're not going to connect up with reality at any point, which is the hard thing in life to do a lot of times, if you've got these ideas in your head about what things should be, but that doesn't have anything to do with the reality, that's the source of a lot of confusion, where you've got what you're thinking has nothing to do with the real world, for some understanding of real. So you have to really, and not simplify, but you have to actually sort of match things up a little bit better. So in that sense, I think this is a good essay. I agree with it in that you are not, the idea that you're burdening your friends with like some sort of ideal version of friendship is the wrong way to go. I completely agree with that sort of thing. You have to sort of understand who you're dealing with, what you're dealing with, and what is the goal of friendship, and then you're going to get some of the ideals along with that, but you're also going to get some of the warts, as it were, and along the way too. And I mean, in that case, that's fine. That's just part of life. It's like, if everything was just utopian, it would be a very weird world. It wouldn't be our world. It'd be something else. So, I mean, good friends help you move a house. Great friends help you move a body. I mean, depends who they killed. So you don't want to kill people, but hey, maybe you killed someone that deserves to die. It's like, well, maybe it is the moral thing to do. I don't know. I'm kidding there. So let's see. Is there anything else I have to say about this? I mean, this is a nice essay. It was well written. It's short. It was good and made a point that back to the beginning, that I haven't studied the literature, but it does seem that at least according to the other paper I read, when surveying the literature, everybody just sort of does assume that friendship is a good. And this paper focused on some of the not so good of human relationships. And so you have to really consider that hard when dealing with the topic. And for that reason, this is good, because at least, even if no one else agrees with the conclusions, pointing out that the literature does sort of cherry pick the way they view friendship through rose-colored glasses might not be the best way to study it. So even just for the opening is makes a good point. So that's good too. So let's see. Is there anything else to say? I mean, let me try and think of my cynical self and see what yeah, this problem about reputation, if that's always an issue, because what exactly, see, this is the problem with the cynic point of view, that if you're just worried about simplicity and self-sufficiency, you're gonna they had a bad reputation. No one really wanted to deal with the cynics, because I mean, Diogenes was like messy and living in a barrel. So I mean, he had a reputation for being a good philosopher, but that was basically, if they worried a little bit more about reputation, maybe they could have had a lot more effect and done everything better, and at least if they understood reputation better, then they wouldn't have had the problems that they did have. Okay, but yeah, what else? I was gonna say something else. Well, anyway, I guess that's it for now. I hope everyone has a good day. Stay safe, everyone out there, and thanks again to Boomer Trujillo for commenting on my review, and also on sending me another good paper to read, because this was fun and it was good. I think it makes a nice point. Even if you don't agree with it, I think the point was well made. So, thanks for watching, and have a good day.